to tell you a beautiful story. And the beautiful story continues really from the abracadabra I will create as I speak. But it's also positive thinking and it's a happy side of life, even though there's a great challenge. And the story really applies to every type of illness, everybody who is in a situation where they might not get out of the hospital or they might never get out of their bed. It could be any one of us, or it could be somebody else in our family. And keeping this story in mind will deliver a lot of help, encouragement, and guidance. The story is about a cancer ward. In that cancer ward, there are 6 men. Their beds are around the room, and they all knew that eventually they will no longer be there and their bed will become vacant. They've all had good lives. They all live to the full. They all have their dreams, but they need encouragement. After all, the family comes for a short while, and usually they can be very tired. Sometimes they're all right for the family. Sometimes it's a burden. But most of the time, they are by themselves, within themselves, in their own inner world, thinking and dreaming of the past and not thinking about the present. Extremely important. That's why I'm bringing you this story. Well, there was one man who was in a bed next to a big window. And next to that window, he was the only one in the room who knew that in actual fact that window was bricked up. But he never told anybody. And twice a day, he would look out the window and he'd tell them what's going on in the outside world. He would talk about the woman walking with her child and how the child is skipping, or another day kicking a ball, or another day trying to catch pigeons, and what colour clothes the woman is wearing. And when it rained, and they went through the seasons of the year, leaves falling from the trees, describing the trees, describing the street sweeper that goes along, describing the crowds that sometimes there, and sometimes very heavy traffic, very light traffic. It was like an ongoing news report. And everybody really looked forward to this because what he did, he spun stories within the stories themselves and made up a story of who that woman is and how many children and where they live and about the child at school and how she's doing and that old woman walking along the road and her family and the man dressed in a business suit walking smartly by. What he does, he just made it all up in his mind. He had a terrific imagination. He also happened to be a psychiatrist. But now he's suffering like everybody else. And he knew that the best therapy for himself and for everyone else to do exactly what he was doing. And this went on months and months, and everybody in the room were really looking forward to this break in their lives and the stories he had to tell about the world going by and what he saw. Well, this went on for just over a year. And one day, he was wheeled out, never to come back. Immediately, the other 5 patients want to be able to have the advantage of that bed next to the window so they too can continue the stories. And there was a lot of arguments, but of course they couldn't really get out of their beds. And they discussed it with the nurses and the doctors, and they offered gifts and presents. Everybody wanted to be there. In a staff meeting, they had a problem. What are they going to do? They didn't want to tell them there was no window, because that would have shattered them completely. So they decided to come and say, well, we all have to move into another ward because we're turning this section of the hospital, of the wards, into a woman's section. So we can't keep you here. And anyway, it all has to be painted and redecorated. So we're now going to move you over to another ward that's been prepared for you. And that's what they did. They never, ever knew what that psychiatrist, the person who himself was dying, what he saw. They never knew that there was no window there. What's so powerful about this beautiful story is that we should use our imagination. We can dream up things that are not there, but we can also take our minds into that beautiful wooded glade and look at the flowers and imagine ourselves riding on that ski lift like a soul flying through the sky. But we also play our video back and imagining we're in the different places we were in our lives, at home, at a party, at a celebration, at a concert. Lie there and actually hear the music, whichever type of music you like. You enjoyed an art gallery. Imagine you're walking around that art gallery. I did that, by the way, when I had my heart problems. I had a favorite art gallery that I used to like whenever I go to Switzerland, in Geneva. And I could actually, I've been so many times, I actually in my mind walked around and looked at the pictures that I was familiar with. And I felt good because I transported myself back in time and brought that into the present. And that's what we have to do all the time. Not to think where we are and where we might be going, if anywhere. And that's how we must talk to our relatives. If somebody's going through that, we have to sit and ask them to tell them about their fun in their lives, the things that they enjoyed, and to tell them much more about the art galleries they've been to, the music they've listened to, the games they played, the tennis, the swimming, right? Their favorite holiday resort, whatever it is, to talk about it, to bring a smile into their heart and into their mind. Is abracadabra. It's really positive thinking. It is really certainty, absolute certainty, that on the divine mode, there is no difference between time, space, and motion. In fact, time, space, and motion is all one. And when we're in that situation, we will fully realize where we stand.